Hey guys, tonight we begin one of the most epic, complex and deeply human stories ever told, the complete life of King David of Israel. We know the legend, the giant slayer, the poet king who wrote the Psalms, the beloved ruler from whose line the Messiah would come. But every legend has a beginning, and David's begins not in a palace, but in the quiet solitude of the shepherd's fields. It begins with him as an afterthought, a forgotten youngest son, a boy who had no idea that the hand of God was about to reach down and change his life and the course of history forever. So before our story begins, if you enjoy these deep dives into the foundational stories of our world, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. And as always, I'd love to know where you are listening from and what time it is for you. Now let's travel back to the dusty hills of ancient Bethlehem, dim the lights, and ease into the story of a shepherd boy who would become a king. What if you were born around the year 1040 BC, into a world of tribal conflict, iron weapons, and a young, fragile kingdom struggling to find its soul? You are David, the youngest of the 8 sons of a man named Jesse, from the small, unremarkable village of Bethlehem. In a world that values the strength and stature of the firstborn, you are the last. While your older, taller brothers train for war and serve in the army of the king, your inheritance is the lonely, thankless job of the family shepherd. Your days are spent in the quiet company of sheep out in the vast, rocky wilderness of the Judean hills. But this solitude is not an emptiness. It is a classroom. It is here that you are forged. You learn the secret language of the land, the location of every hidden spring, the shadow of every circling hawk, the scent of a coming rainstorm. You learn to be patient, to be vigilant, and to be brave. This is no peaceful pasture. It is a land of predators, and you, a boy with a simple staff and a sling, must protect your flock from the lions and the bears that emerge from the caves in the hillsides. You learn the art of the sling, not as a toy, but as a deadly weapon of precision. You learn what it is to be a guardian, and in the long, silent hours under a vast, starry sky, something else awakens in you. You become a musician and a poet. You carry with you a small, handheld lyre, a kinnor, and you compose songs to the silent hills, to your flock, and to your God. The psalms that will one day echo through millennia are born here, in the heart of a lonely shepherd boy. You do not know it, but this life of solitude is a preparation. You are being forged in secret for a destiny you cannot yet imagine. Meanwhile, a great and terrible power struggle is unfolding in the heart of the kingdom. The first king of Israel, Saul, a man chosen for his great height and military prowess, has fallen out of favor with God. He has become a paranoid, unstable and tragic figure, haunted by his own failures. The great prophet Samuel, the spiritual conscience of the nation, has been sent by God on a secret, dangerous and deeply treasonous mission. He is to find and anoint a new king, while the old one is still alive and on the throne. And this old, powerful man is now walking towards your village, carrying a horn of holy oil and a secret that could tear the kingdom apart. The arrival of the prophet in Bethlehem causes a stir. He announces he has come to make a sacrifice, and he summons your father, Jesse, and his sons to attend. You, of course, are not summoned. You are out in the fields with the sheep, forgotten. Your father proudly presents your 7 older brothers to the great prophet. The first, Eliab, is tall and handsome, a warrior. Samuel sees him and thinks he must be the chosen one. But God speaks to the prophet's heart, warning him not to look at the outward appearance, for God sees what men cannot. One by one, your 7 impressive brothers are presented, and one by one, Samuel shakes his head. God has not chosen them. Samuel is confused. He turns to your father. "Are all your sons here?" he asks. It is the question that will change your life. And your father, Jesse, has to awkwardly admit that, oh yes, he did forget one, the youngest, the one out watching the sheep. You are summoned. You are brought in from the fields, a ruddy, handsome boy, likely smelling of dust and sheep. You stand before the great prophet, and he looks at you, and he knows. He takes his horn of sacred olive oil, and in front of your stunned and bewildered father and brothers, he anoints your head. The oil runs down your face. And in that quiet, simple, and revolutionary act, a transfer of sacred power takes place. You are now, in the eyes of God, the true, secret king of Israel. The prophet leaves as quietly as he came, and you are left to deal with the impossible consequences of this moment. You must go back to your flock of sheep, but everything has changed. You carry a secret so immense and so dangerous that if the current, paranoid King Saul were ever to find out, he would have you and your entire family hunted down and executed. This divine gift is not a crown, it is a target on your back. Your long, lonely and perilous journey to the throne you have just been promised has only just begun. You have been chosen by God, anointed in secret by his prophet. But the path to your promised throne will not be a straight one. It will not begin with an army or a rebellion. It will begin with a strange and unexpected detour, a journey into the very heart of the darkness you are destined to replace. Your first step towards the crown will be not as a warrior, but as a musician, a healer for a broken king. While you are in the fields, tending your sheep, the man who currently sits on the throne of Israel, King Saul, is at war with his own mind. This is the great historical fact, as told in the Bible, that will create the opening for you. The Spirit of God, the divine charisma that once made Saul a great king, has left him, and in its place, a shadow has fallen, a harmful spirit that torments him. The biblical description is a theological explanation for a profound psychological affliction. Whether Saul's contemporaries saw his condition as a divine punishment, a curse, or a sickness of the mind, the effect was the same: a powerful but dangerously unstable king, and a court that is steeped in a quiet, constant fear. Saul is plagued by fits of deep, inconsolable melancholy, paranoia, and sudden, violent rages. His desperate servants, trying to find some relief for their tormented master, suggest a form of ancient therapy. This is an obscure but beautiful detail of your story. They suggest the power of music. "Let our Lord now command your servants," they say to him, "to seek out a man who is skillful in playing the lyre, and when the harmful spirit is upon you, he will play it and you will be well." Saul, desperate for any comfort, agrees. The search begins for a musician with a healing touch, and one of the king's servants remembers you. He speaks of a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite, a man who is not only a valiant man and a man of war, a callback to the secret strength you've shown in the wilderness, but who is also skillful in playing. The king's summons is sent. You are to leave your sheep, take up your lyre, and travel to the royal court at Gibeah. It is your first taste of the world of power, and you are entering it not as a conqueror, but as a court artist, a boy hired to soothe a mad king. You arrive at the royal court. It is a world of soldiers, of courtiers, of a tense, quiet formality. And at its center is King Saul, a giant of a man, a great warrior whose eyes are now clouded with a deep and tragic sadness. You are brought before him, a humble shepherd boy with a lyre in your hand, but a callback to your anointing. You carry a secret authority, a quiet confidence that belies your youth and your station. When the king's dark mood, his spiritual torment descends upon him, you are commanded to play. You take up your lyre, the same instrument you used to compose songs for God in the lonely silence of the hills, and you begin to play. The music that flows from your fingers is not just a performance, it is a prayer. It is the sound of the wind through the olive groves, the sound of a shepherd's flute at dusk. It is filled with the simple, profound faith of your solitary youth. It's a sound of peace in a room that is suffocating with fear and paranoia, and as you play, a miracle happens. The tension in the king's face begins to soften. His tormented spirit grows calm. The biblical account says that Saul was refreshed and was well, and the harmful spirit departed from him. You have succeeded. Your music has a power that no sword or spear possesses. Saul, finding in you the only source of peace in his troubled life, grows to love you. He refuses to let you return to your father's house. He makes you his personal armor-bearer, one of the most trusted positions in his retinue. You are now constantly at his side. You are the boy who holds his shield, and the musician who holds his very sanity in your hands. You are now closer to the throne than you have ever been. This is the beginning of one of the most complex, tragic, and intimate relationships in the entire Bible. You, the secret king-in-waiting, have become the beloved companion and healer of the very man you are destined to replace. You do not know it yet, but this strange, dangerous intimacy, this favor you have won through your art, is a double-edged sword. For the very thing that makes the king love you, your skill, your spirit, your divine favor, will soon be the very thing that makes him hate you with a murderous, all-consuming jealousy. You have found a precarious place in the world. You are a shepherd boy living in the court of a king, a musician who is also an armor-bearer. But the quiet, tense drama of the palace is about to be overshadowed by a national crisis that will give you the opportunity to reveal the man you were truly born to be. While you have been soothing the king's moods, the old implacable enemies of Israel, the Philistines, have gathered for war. But this is a strange and humiliating war. For 40 days, the two armies have been camped on opposite hillsides overlooking the valley of Elah, paralyzed by a war of nerves. The reason for their fear is a single man, a Philistine champion named Goliath of Gath, who is, by all accounts, a literal giant. The figure of Goliath, described in the Bible as being over 9 feet tall, is a legendary embellishment common in ancient hero tales. But whether he was a man of unusually large stature, or if his size was simply a metaphor for the terrifying military power of the Philistines, the psychological impact he had on the Israelite army was devastatingly real. He is a one-man weapon of fear. Every morning and every evening he strides out into the valley, clad in a magnificent, terrifying suit of bronze armor, and he roars his challenge to the armies of Israel. He demands they send out a champion to fight him in single combat, to decide the fate of the entire war. And every day, for 40 days, no one in your army, from the lowest soldier to King Saul himself, dares to answer. It is into this scene of national humiliation that you arrive. You have been sent by your father, Jesse, not to fight, but on a mundane errand, to deliver a care package of cheeses and bread to your 3 older brothers who are serving in the king's army. You arrive at the camp to find the entire army of Israel cowering in their tents, demoralized and shamed. You, a teenager who has secretly killed lions and bears in the wilderness, are genuinely confused by this display of professional military cowardice. You hear Goliath's blasphemous taunts against your people and your God, and a hot, righteous anger, an anger born of your deep faith and your secret anointing, rises in your heart. You begin to walk through the camp, asking questions. What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine? You ask. Your eldest brother, Eliab, a callback to the man who was rejected by the prophet, sees you and is furious. He accuses you of arrogance, of leaving your few sheep in the wilderness to come and watch the battle. But your fearless words are overheard, and word reaches King Saul. You are summoned to the royal tent. You stand before the tall, terrified King Saul, the man whose madness you once soothed with music. And you, the boy musician, volunteer to fight the giant. Saul is incredulous. You are not able, he says. You are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth. But you give him your resume of courage. You tell him the story of how you have killed both a lion and a bear with your own hands to protect your father's flock. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, you say with unshakable faith, will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. Saul, with no other volunteers and shamed by the courage of this boy, reluctantly agrees. It is a decision that will make you a hero, and it will also become his single greatest and most bitter regret. He tries to dress you in his own royal armor, but it is too heavy, too cumbersome. You reject it. You will not fight as a soldier. You will fight as yourself. Instead, you walk to a nearby brook and you choose 5 smooth stones. You take your shepherd's staff, your pouch for the stones, and your most trusted weapon, the simple sling. This is an obscure but vital detail. A shepherd's sling was not a child's toy. In the hands of an expert, it was a deadly long-range weapon, capable of hurling a stone with the force and accuracy to crush a man's skull. It was a weapon of speed and precision against Goliath's brute force and heavy armor. You walk out into the valley to meet the giant. Goliath looks at you, a ruddy, handsome boy, and he is insulted, cursing you by his gods. You shout back your famous reply, a declaration of faith that will echo through the ages. You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand. The duel is not a long, drawn-out sword fight. It is a swift, brilliant act of asymmetrical warfare. As Goliath lumbers towards you, you run to meet him. You put a stone in your sling, you whirl it, and you let it fly. The stone sinks deep into the giant's forehead. He collapses face down on the ground. You then run forward, take his own massive sword, and you cut off his head. The Philistine army, seeing their invincible champion fall, lets out a collective cry of horror and disbelief, and they turn and flee. The Israelite army, their courage suddenly restored, roars and charges after them. You have won. In a single, audacious act of faith and skill, you have saved the entire nation. You are no longer just David, the sweet-singing shepherd boy. You are David, the giant slayer. You are an instant national hero. And your life, which was once so quiet and simple, is about to become much more glorious and infinitely more dangerous. You are the hero of Israel. You have just saved the nation from its greatest enemy in a single, audacious act of faith and skill. But this is the next chapter of your story, and it is here you will learn a hard and bitter lesson. In a royal court, the love of the people is often more dangerous than the hatred of your enemies. Your great victory over Goliath will not bring you peace. It will plunge you into a new and far more personal war, a war against the very king you are sworn to serve. You return from the battle in triumph. As your victorious army enters the cities of Israel, the women come out to celebrate, singing and dancing. They have composed a song for the occasion. It is a catchy, popular tune that will become the #1 hit single in the kingdom. The lyrics, however, are a political catastrophe for you. They sing, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." You have just saved the nation. The people love you. The women are composing songs about you, songs that are, unfortunately, a little too popular for the current king's fragile ego. This is a major historical fact of your life, the moment that changes everything. King Saul hears this song, and the harmful spirit that you once soothed with your music returns with a vengeance, this time whispering your name. He looks at you, the handsome, popular, giant-slaying young hero, and he does not see a loyal servant. He sees his own replacement. He sees the man, the prophet Samuel, secretly anointed in his stead. A callback to the secret you both share, though he knows it only in his paranoid heart. The Bible says, "And Saul eyed David from that day on." His love for you has curdled into a consuming, murderous jealousy. But in the midst of this rising tension, you find an unlikely and powerful ally, the king's own son, the crown prince, Jonathan. He sees in you not a rival, but a kindred spirit. He loves you, the story says, as he loves his own soul. The precise nature of the deep emotional bond between you and Jonathan has been a subject of discussion for centuries. Was it a profound brotherly friendship, a shrewd political alliance, or something more? The biblical text describes it with a passionate intensity that transcends easy categorization. What is certain is that Jonathan, in an act of incredible humility and faith, recognizes the divine anointing on you. He understands that you, not he, are the future of Israel. He makes a formal covenant, a berit, with you. This is an obscure but profoundly important act. He strips himself of his own royal robe, his armor, his sword, and his bow, and he gives them all to you. He is, in a powerful symbolic act, transferring his own birthright as the heir to you, the shepherd boy. This friendship will be your greatest comfort and your shield in the dark years to come. It will also put you in even greater danger, as it will only intensify his father's rage. The royal court, which was once your place of honor, now becomes a death trap. Your job as royal musician, a callback to how you first entered this world, becomes a high-risk occupation. One day, while you are playing your lyre to soothe the king's dark mood, his paranoia overwhelms him. Believing you are the source of all his troubles, he hurls his spear at you, intending to pin you to the wall. You dodge, and the spear quivers in the wood behind you. The king who once loved you as a son is now actively trying to murder you during your therapy sessions. He tries again and again. You are forced to live in a state of constant nerve-shredding vigilance. You continue to serve him loyally, leading his armies in successful campaigns against the Philistines, which only makes you more popular with the people and makes him even more murderously jealous. He offers you his daughter Michal in marriage, not as a reward, but as a trap, hoping you will be killed while trying to earn her outrageous bride price. You succeed, and now you are the king's son-in-law, a position that makes you both more powerful and an even greater threat. Your life is an impossible contradiction. You are the kingdom's greatest hero and its most wanted man. You are the king's most loyal servant and his most hated enemy, and the only thing standing between you and a royal spear in the back is the love of your best friend, the king's own son. You are now living on a razor's edge. The king who once loved you now openly tries to murder you in his own throne room. The palace, which was once your path to glory, has become a death trap. Your only protection is the fierce, unwavering loyalty of your best friend, the king's own son, Jonathan. This is the next chapter of your story, your descent from a national hero into a hunted fugitive. The situation becomes untenable. After Saul's repeated attempts to kill you, Jonathan devises a plan to test his father's true intentions once and for all. It is a heartbreaking moment, a final, desperate attempt to preserve both his friendship with you and his loyalty to his father. During the New Moon Festival, which you are expected to attend, you will hide in a field. Jonathan will make an excuse for your absence. He will then gauge his father's reaction. The next day, he will come to the field to practice archery, and through a series of coded signals involving his arrow shots and his words to his servant boy, he will let you know if it is safe to return or if you must flee for your life. The plan works perfectly. Saul, hearing your excuse, explodes in a paranoid rage. He screams at Jonathan, accusing him of treason for siding with you, and in a fit of madness hurls his own spear at his own son. The message is now chillingly clear. Saul will stop at nothing to destroy you. Jonathan comes to you in the field the next day. The coded signal is for you to flee, but he does not just give the signal. He sends the boy away and meets you for one last tearful and secret farewell. You bow before him, and you both weep, knowing that you may never see each other again. Your great friendship, a callback to the purest relationship of your life, is now a casualty of his father's madness. You are no longer the kingdom's greatest hero. You are now its most wanted fugitive. Your glorious career at court is over. Your new career is refugiado professional. You run. Your first stop is the priestly town of Nob. You are alone, you are desperate, and you are starving. You go to the high priest Ahimelech and you lie. You tell him you are on a secret mission for the king. It is a desperate act of survival. You ask for two things: food and a weapon. The priest, intimidated by your presence, has no common bread. He gives you the only food he has, the holy, consecrated bread of the presence from the tabernacle, food that only priests are allowed to eat. Then you see it. Leaning against a wall is the great sword of Goliath the Philistine, the trophy from your most famous victory, a callback to the moment that started all of this. You take it. It is yours now. You do not know it yet, but this single lie, this one act of desperate deception, will lead to a horrifying consequence. A servant of Saul's is there, who will report your actions to the king. In his rage, Saul will later order the massacre of the entire town, the killing of every priest, man, woman, and child in Nob. The path of a fugitive, you will learn, is paved with the terrible unintended consequences of your own choices. From Nob, you flee into the deep wilderness of Judah. You are a lonely and desperate man, hiding in a place called the Cave of Adullam. But you are not alone for long. Your reputation as a great warrior and as the great enemy of the unpopular King Saul follows you. And soon an army of the dispossessed begins to gather around you. This is a major historical fact of your exile. The Bible says that everyone who was in distress, and everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was bitter in soul gathered to him, and he became captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. You have accidentally formed a support group for os descontentes do reino. E eles acabaram de o eleger seu líder. You are no longer just a fugitive. You are now a guerrilla chieftain, a commander of a private army of outcasts, hiding in the mountains and caves of your own homeland, waging a low-grade civil war against your own king, the anointed of the Lord. A callback to your days as a shepherd. You are once again in the wilderness. But you are no longer guarding sheep. You are leading a flock of broken, dangerous men, and your long, hard, and morally complicated education in the true nature of kingship has just begun. You are now a guerrilla chieftain, the leader of a band of 400, and later 600 broken and desperate men. Your life in the wilderness of Judah is a constant grinding struggle for survival. You are the anointed future king of Israel, a hero to your people. You are also, for all practical purposes, a bandit leader, living in caves and strongholds, being relentlessly hunted by the army of the man who is still your king and your father-in-law. This precarious existence cannot last forever. You realize that as long as you remain within the borders of Israel, Saul will never stop trying to kill you. So you make a decision of such breathtaking, treasonous audacity that no one, least of all Saul, will see it coming. You take your entire army of 600 warriors, along with their families, and you defect. You march your people out of the wilderness of Judah and into the territory of the Philistines, the sworn pagan enemies of your people, and you offer your sword and your loyalty to their king. It is a shocking betrayal of your country and your faith. It is also, from a purely strategic standpoint, a stroke of survivalist genius. You present yourself at the court of Achish, the king of the Philistine city of Gath. A profound and bitter irony. This is the very city that the giant Goliath, a callback to your greatest victory, came from. The king's advisors and generals are, understandably, extremely nervous. "Is not this David?" they ask their king, "the man of whom they sing in the dances? Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." They remember you. They are not wrong to be deeply suspicious of your motives. But King Achish is a pragmatist. He sees in you not the old hero of Israel, but a powerful, disgruntled asset that he can now use against his own rival, King Saul. He sees a skilled, battle-hardened commander with 600 veteran warriors, who now have every reason to hate the king of Israel. He agrees to take you in. He makes you his vassal. You have just sworn an oath of fealty to the greatest enemy of your people. Your life has taken another strange, morally complex turn. King Achish gives you your own town to rule, the city of Ziklag, located on the southern frontier of his kingdom, near the desert. You are no longer a homeless fugitive living in a cave. You are now a Philistine lord, a mercenary chieftain with a secure base of operations. But this safety has come at a terrible price, and it forces you to begin a dangerous and elaborate double game. Your new master, King Achish, expects you to do what you do best, raid. He expects you to lead your men on raids against your own people, to plunder the southern towns of Judah and weaken the kingdom of Saul from within. The biblical narrative portrays your time with the Philistines as a clever, elaborate ruse. You do lead your men on brutal raids, but the story says you do not attack your own people. Instead, you secretly attack other non-Israelite nomadic tribes in the desert, enemies of both Israel and the Philistines. You slaughter every man, woman, and child in these raids so that there are no witnesses left to report who you truly attacked. You then return to King Achish with the plunder, the sheep, the goats, the camels, and you lie, telling him that you have just returned from a successful raid on the towns of Judah. Whether you were truly playing this complex double game, a secret patriot masquerading as a traitor, or if you were genuinely serving your new Philistine master as a loyal mercenary, is a question of loyalty that the text leaves deliberately ambiguous. What is certain is that you are living a life of profound, constant deception. You are a traitor in the eyes of your own people, who only know that you have gone to live with the enemy. And you are a potential fifth column in the eyes of your new master, should he ever discover the truth. You have found safety, a callback to your desperate flight, but you have sacrificed your honor to get it. And this brilliant, treacherous plan is about to lead you into the most impossible moral trap of your entire life. The Philistines, emboldened by the chaos in Israel and now with you on their side, decide the time is right to gather all their armies for one great final war to destroy the kingdom of Saul once and for all. And you, as a loyal vassal of King Achish, are now honor-bound to march with them, to fight in their army against your own people, against King Saul, and against your best friend, Jonathan. Your clever escape has led you into a situation from which there is no clean exit. You are marching in the ranks of the Philistine army, on your way to destroy your own country. It is the lowest point of your life. You are a traitor, by every definition of the word, a man who has joined the enemies of his people. You are caught in a trap of your own making, a callback to the desperate choices of a fugitive, and you see no way out. You will be forced to fight against the armies of Israel, against the men you once led, and against your best friend, Jonathan. It is a moment of profound, soul-crushing despair. And then, just as you are resigning yourself to this impossible fate, you are saved by the one thing you can always count on in a world of warriors: paranoia. As the great Philistine army gathers for its final advance, the other Philistine commanders and princes see you and your 600 Hebrew warriors marching among them, and they do not like it. They do not trust you. They go to your master, King Achish, and they protest vehemently. They tell him that bringing you, David the giant slayer, to the battle is like inviting a wolf to a sheep-shearing festival. They are convinced that in the heat of the battle you will betray them to win back King Saul's favor. The biblical account of your convenient dismissal before the battle is a masterful piece of narrative maneuvering, a story that absolves you of any responsibility for the catastrophic Israelite defeat. Whether this truly happened as described, or if it was a story created later to launder your reputation after you took the throne, is a key question for biblical historians. But in your story, it is a moment of incredible, unlooked-for deliverance. King Achish, though he trusts you, is a politician. He cannot afford to alienate his fellow commanders. He summons you to his tent, With what seems like genuine regret, he tells you that you cannot fight with them. He orders you to take your men and return to your town of Ziklag in the morning. You perform a brilliant piece of theater, pretending to be deeply offended. "What have I done," you ask, "that I may not go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king?" But inside, you are overcome with a profound, secret relief. You have been spared from an impossible choice. You have maintained your honor with both your new master and your old people, all through sheer, dumb luck and the well-founded suspicions of your enemies. You return to Ziklag, a spectator to the greatest disaster in your people's history. A few days later, a messenger arrives. He has escaped from the great battle that took place on the slopes of Mount Gilboa. His clothes are torn, and there is dust on his head. He brings you the news. The army of Israel has been utterly and completely annihilated. The Philistines have won a total victory, and King Saul is dead. Wounded by archers and facing the humiliation of capture, he asked his own armor-bearer to kill him. When the boy refused, Saul took his own great sword and fell upon it, and then the messenger delivers the final, most devastating blow. Your best friend, your soulmate, your brother-in-arms, Jonathan, is also dead, cut down in the fighting alongside two of his brothers. The news is a paradoxical storm of emotion. Your great enemy, the man who has hunted you for years, is dead. The throne of Israel is now, for all intents and purposes, empty. The path that the prophet Samuel set you on so many years ago is finally, miraculously, clear. But the cost is immense and heartbreaking. Your best friend, the one man in the court who loved and protected you, the rightful heir to the throne, who had willingly stepped aside for you, is gone. In this moment of personal victory and profound grief, you do not celebrate. A callback to your youth as a poet, your heart is broken and you are overcome with sorrow. You tear your clothes, you fast, and you compose one of the most beautiful and moving elegies in the entire Bible, the Song of the Bow, a lament for the two men who defined your life. "Your glory, O Israel, is slain on your high places," you cry out. "How the mighty have fallen." You weep for Saul, the tragic king who tried to kill you, and you weep for Jonathan, your brother. "I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan," you lament. "Very pleasant have you been to me. Your love to me was extraordinary, surpassing the love of women. You have been saved from the choice of being a traitor, but you have been left with the profound grief of a survivor. The throne is now within your reach, but it is a throne that is stained with the blood of the people you loved. The king who hunted you is dead. The prince who loved you is dead. The throne of Israel is empty. Your path to the destiny that was promised to you as a boy is finally, brutally clear. But you do not march on the capital. A callback to your years of patient survival, you move with a deliberate and cautious wisdom. You ask your God for guidance, and the command is clear. Go up to Hebron, in the heartland of your own tribe of Judah. It is time to go from being a secret, anointed king to a public one. But your kingdom, you will soon discover, is much smaller and more complicated than you had hoped. You leave the Philistine city of Ziklag, your strange and compromised home, and you travel with your loyal band of 600 warriors and their families to Hebron. This is a major and deeply symbolic move. Hebron is not just any city, it is one of the most ancient and sacred places in all of Israel. The traditional burial place of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. By establishing your first capital here, you are making a powerful, silent claim, grounding your new kingship not in the chaotic politics of the present, but in the most ancient and holy traditions of your people. The men of your own tribe of Judah come to you there, and in a formal public ceremony they anoint you. You are now officially King David of Judah. It is a glorious moment. But while you are being crowned in the south, a different story is unfolding in the north. Saul's formidable and fiercely loyal army commander, a man named Abner, has survived the disaster at Gilboa. He takes Saul's last surviving son, a weak man named Ishbosheth, and brings him to the town of Mahanaim across the Jordan River. And there he makes him king over all the northern tribes of Israel. Congratulations, you have just inherited one half of a bloody and protracted civil war. You are the king of the southern kingdom of Judah. Ishbosheth, whose name ironically means man of shame, is the king of the northern kingdom of Israel, though in truth he is merely a puppet for his powerful general Abner. The great united monarchy of Saul is fractured. The biblical narrative presents the long war between your house and the house of Saul as a gradual, inevitable strengthening of your power. From a historical perspective, it was likely a much more precarious and uncertain period of political negotiation and low-grade warfare, where the outcome was far from certain. The war that follows is not one of grand, decisive battles. It is, as the Bible calls it, a long war, a slow, ugly, attritional conflict of raids, skirmishes, and political assassinations, where brother once again fights brother for 7.5 years. Your army is led by your ferocious and ruthlessly effective nephew Joab. The army of Israel is led by the old, cunning general Abner. The war is a personal duel between these two great commanders. In one famous, tragic incident, a group of young warriors from both sides meets at a pool in Gibeon. They agree to a contest, a ritualized combat of 12 champions from each side. The fight quickly devolves into a suicidal slaughter, where every man is killed. This then sparks a larger battle, which your forces win. It is a perfect, grim metaphor for the entire civil war. A pointless, self-destructive conflict born from pride that serves only to weaken the entire nation. You rule from Hebron for 7.5 years. You are a king, but you are only a partial king. You have the promise of God, a callback to your secret anointing, but you must still fight and bleed for every inch of that promise. Your life is a constant, grinding struggle to consolidate your power, to win over the other tribes through diplomacy and force, and to defeat the house of the very man you once served. You are so close to your destiny, yet it is still out of reach. This long civil war will not be won on the battlefield. It will only be won through a final, shocking act of betrayal and murder, an act that will place you on the throne of a unified kingdom, but will also stain your hands with a new and very complicated kind of blood. You have been the king of Judah for 7.5 long years. The civil war against the house of Saul has been a slow, grinding, and deeply personal affair, a callback to the bitterness of the border wars of your youth. Your kingdom is divided, and the path to the unified throne promised by the prophet Samuel seems impossibly far. The war will not be won on the battlefield. It will be won, as is so often the case in the brutal politics of your age, through a foolish personal argument and a shocking series of bloody betrayals. The beginning of the end for the house of Saul comes not from your army, but from within their own camp. Abner, the great and powerful general who was the true power behind the weak king Ishbosheth, has a falling out with his king. The dispute is over a woman, one of your father-in-law Saul's former concubines. Ishbosheth accuses Abner of sleeping with her, an act that could be seen as a claim to the throne. Abner, a proud and powerful man, is enraged by the accusation from his puppet king. In a fit of furious indignation, he decides to do the unthinkable. He will defect. He sends a secret message to you in your capital of Hebron. He, the man who has been your greatest military opponent for 7 years, offers to switch sides. He promises to deliver the entire northern kingdom of Israel to you on a silver platter. It is the political opportunity of a lifetime. It is also very clearly a potential trap. But you are a master of this game. You agree to negotiate, but you set one deeply personal condition. He must return to you your first wife, Michal, King Saul's daughter, who had been taken from you and given to another man during your years as a fugitive. It is a shrewd political move. By reclaiming your royal wife, you are re-establishing your own legitimate claim to the house of Saul. Abner agrees. He brings Michal to you, and then he comes to Hebron to finalize the treaty. You feast him as an honored guest. You make a deal. The war is about to end peacefully, but you have a problem. Your own commander, your ferocious and loyal nephew Joab, has a personal blood feud with Abner. This is an obscure but vital custom of your time, the law of the Avenger of Blood. In a previous battle, Abner had killed Joab's younger brother. Joab is now honor-bound to seek revenge. While you are busy planning the peaceful unification of your kingdom, Joab is busy planning a quiet, personal, and politically catastrophic murder. After Abner leaves your court in peace, Joab secretly sends a messenger to lure him back to Hebron. Abner, suspecting no foul play, returns. Joab meets him at the city gate, pulls him aside as if to speak with him privately, and then, without warning, stabs him in the stomach, killing him. It is a cold-blooded assassination. You are horrified. Your entire plan for a peaceful unification has been shattered. The biblical narrative portrays your reaction as one of genuine grief and masterful political theater. How much was sincere emotion, and how much was a brilliant performance to distance yourself from a convenient murder that eliminated a powerful new rival, is a question that reveals the deep ambiguity of your character. You publicly and loudly curse Joab for his act. You compose a beautiful, moving lament for your fallen enemy, Abner. You order a national day of mourning, and you yourself walk behind his funeral bier, weeping. You show the northern tribes that this murder was not your will, that you are an honorable man. Your performance works. The northern tribes see your grief, and they believe you. And now, the final pieces fall into place. When your rival, King Ishbosheth, hears that his great general Abner is dead, he loses all courage. A short time later, he is ignominiously murdered in his own bed by two of his own captains, who believe they will win your favor. They bring his severed head to you in Hebron, expecting a great reward. You, in a final, brilliant display of righteous justice, are enraged by their treason. You have them both executed on the spot for murdering an innocent man. The house of Saul is now completely destroyed. The civil war is over. The elders of all the northern tribes of Israel journey to Hebron. They come before you, and they formally ask you to be their king. They anoint you. You are now at the age of 37, after a lifetime of waiting, fighting, and surviving, the undisputed king of a unified Israel. But you have taken the throne through a chaotic and bloody series of betrayals and assassinations, a throne stained with the blood of men to whom you had promised peace. You are the king of a newly united but still deeply divided nation. A callback to the long and bitter civil war, you know that the peace between the northern tribes of Israel and your own southern tribe of Judah is a fragile, resentful thing. You cannot continue to rule from your southern capital of Hebron without forever being seen as merely the king of the south. You need a new capital, a neutral city, one that belongs to neither faction, a place that you can forge into a symbol of your new, unified kingdom. You set your sights on a small, arrogant, and seemingly impregnable Jebusite fortress that sits on a mountain ridge, a strategic piece of land that belongs to none of the 12 tribes, a city called Jebus. The world will come to know it as Jerusalem. This is a major historical fact and arguably the single most important political act of your entire reign. The city is a natural fortress, surrounded by deep valleys that make a direct assault nearly impossible. Its inhabitants, a Canaanite tribe called the Jebusites, have held this stronghold for centuries. They are so confident in their defenses that when your army arrives at their gates, they mock you from the high walls. The Bible records their taunt. They tell you that their city is so secure that even the blind and the lame could defend it against you. This is, you decide, a poor choice of words when taunting a man who has just won a 7-year civil war and has a lifetime of experience in overcoming impossible odds. You know that you cannot take the city by a direct, bloody assault on its massive walls. It would be a long and costly siege, one that would weaken your new kingdom before it is even truly born. But a callback to your years as a guerrilla fighter, you have learned to think unconventionally. Your spies have told you of a secret, a hidden vulnerability in the city's seemingly perfect defenses, a single, dark, wet and terrifying path that leads directly into the heart of the fortress. This is an obscure but fascinating detail that has captivated historians and archaeologists for centuries. The city's primary water supply, the Gihon Spring, lies just outside the city walls. To access it during a siege, the Jebusites had carved a steep vertical tunnel through the bedrock, a water shaft that led from within the city down to the spring. Your plan to take the city is not a grand siege, but a secret, claustrophobic special ops mission through this very channel. The precise method of your conquest of Jerusalem is a subject of intense archaeological and historical debate. Was the water shaft of the Bible truly the ancient feature now known as Warren's Shaft? Or did your forces take the city by some other clever means, a story that was later simplified into the dramatic tale of a secret infiltration? The stones of the ancient city guard their secrets well, but in your story, the mission is real, and it is a testament to your genius for unconventional warfare. You stand before your army and make a public challenge. Whoever strikes the Jebusites first and gets up the water shaft shall be chief and commander. Your ferocious nephew and ever loyal, ever problematic commander, Joab, is the first to accept the challenge. What follows is a silent, terrifying commando raid. Imagine the scene. Joab and a small, elite group of your best warriors creeping down to the Gihon Spring in the dead of night. They enter the dark, narrow, vertical tunnel, the sound of dripping water echoing in the oppressive darkness. They must climb, hand over hand, up the slippery, claustrophobic shaft, deep inside the mountain, knowing that a single dislodged stone could alert the guards above and turn their secret passage into a stone tomb. They emerge, dripping and silent, inside the city walls. They overpower the surprised sentries and throw open the city gates from the inside. Your main army, which has been waiting in the valley below, pours into the unsuspecting city. Jerusalem is yours. You have conquered the unconquerable fortress, and you have done it with a brilliant, daring raid that minimized your own casualties and took the city in a single, decisive night. You do not slaughter the Jebusite inhabitants. You absorb them into your new kingdom. You move your court, your government, and your family from Hebron to this new neutral capital. You rename it the City of David. It is a political masterstroke. You have not just conquered a city, you have created a powerful center of gravity for your new, unified nation. By conquering Jerusalem and making it your personal capital, you will transform it from a minor hilltop fortress into one of the most famous, most revered, and most violently fought-over cities in the entire history of the human race. The peace you have just brought to it, you do not know, will be a very brief and very fragile one. But for now, you are David, King of a united Israel, Lord of Jerusalem. You are at the height of your power. You have conquered Jerusalem and made it your political capital. The city thrives under your rule, a symbol of your unified kingdom. But it is still just a fortress, a center of earthly military power. To make it the true heart of your nation, to fulfill your destiny as the king chosen by God, you know you must bring the divine presence itself into the city. You decide to undertake the most significant religious act of your reign. You will bring the most sacred, most powerful, and as you are about to learn, most dangerous object in all of Israel, the Ark of the Covenant, to its new home in the City of David. This is a major historical fact and a pivotal moment in your story. The Ark, The golden chest containing the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, the physical manifestation of God's presence on earth, has been kept in relative obscurity in a small town for decades, ever since it was captured and then hastily and fearfully returned by the Philistines. To bring it to your new capital is to declare that Jerusalem is now the spiritual center of the universe. It is an act of immense piety and a brilliant political move to forever link your dynasty with the divine. You gather 30,000 of your best men for a massive, joyous celebration. You go to the house where the ark has been kept, and you prepare for a grand procession. And here, in your excitement and your pride, you make a critical, nearly fatal mistake. This is an obscure but vital detail of the sacred law. The ark was not to be transported on a cart, pulled by oxen, like a piece of common furniture. It was to be carried on long poles, threaded through golden rings, on the shoulders of consecrated priests of the Levite clan. It was never, under any circumstances, to be touched by a human hand. But you, perhaps forgetting this ancient rule, or perhaps believing your own royal authority is enough, place the ark on a brand new, freshly built ox cart. The procession begins. It is a festival of music and joy. There are lyres, harps, and cymbals. You and all the house of Israel are dancing before the Lord with all your might, a great wave of celebration rolling towards Jerusalem. And then, in an instant, the joy turns to terror. The oxen pulling the cart stumble on the uneven ground. The great ark lurches, about to topple and fall into the dust. A man named Uzzah, one of the men walking alongside the cart, instinctively reaches out his hand to steady the holy object. The moment his flesh touches the sacred chest, he is struck dead, as if by a bolt of lightning from a clear blue sky. The story of Uzzah being struck dead is a stark theological lesson about the terrifying, unapproachable holiness, the sheer otherness of God. From a secular viewpoint, it's impossible to know what really happened. Did he suffer a sudden, massive heart attack or stroke, which was interpreted as divine wrath? Or is the story a parable created by the priestly writers to emphasize the absolute life-or-death importance of following their sacred rituals to the letter? The effect on you in your story is immediate and profound. The celebration comes to a sudden, horrifying halt. The music stops, and you are filled not with piety, but with a sudden, chilling fear and even anger at the God you serve. "How can the ark of the Lord come to me?" you cry out. "You are the king, but you have just been given a brutal reminder that God does not follow your rules or your parade schedule. You abandon the entire project. The procession is cancelled. You leave the ark in the house of a nearby man and return to Jerusalem, shaken, confused, and deeply afraid. For 3 months, the ark remains outside your city. But you learn that the house where it rests is being showered with divine blessings. You realize your mistake was not in your desire, but in your method. You have learned your lesson. You must approach God on His terms, not your own. You prepare a new procession, this time following the ancient laws with meticulous, painstaking precision. The ark is to be carried on the shoulders of the Levite priests. Sacrifices are to be made every 6 steps of the journey. This second attempt is a triumph. The ark is brought slowly, respectfully, towards the city. And you, King David, are so overcome with religious ecstasy and joyous relief that you do something that will scandalize your own court. You strip off your heavy royal robes, and you dance before the Lord with all your might, dressed only in a simple linen ephod, the humble garment of a priest. You leap and whirl before the ark, a king casting aside all his royal dignity in an act of pure, uninhibited worship. The ark is brought into the city and placed in a sacred tent you have prepared for it. Jerusalem is now the holy city, the dwelling place of God. You have succeeded, But this ecstatic, public display of raw, undignified faith will have consequences. It will mark the final, bitter end of your relationship with your first royal wife, Michal, the daughter of Saul, who watches your dance from a window and is filled with contempt for your vulgar display. It is a foreshadowing of the troubles that are to come, a sign that even your greatest spiritual victories will be intertwined with the pains and sorrows of your own complicated human heart. You are at peace. Your enemies on every border have been defeated. Your kingdom is secure, unified, and prosperous. You are David, the undisputed king of Israel and Judah, ruling from your holy city of Jerusalem. You are the man after God's own heart. And it is here, at the very pinnacle of your success, not in a time of war or desperation, but in a moment of quiet, idle, middle-aged boredom, that you will commit the great and terrible sins that will shatter your family and define the tragic second half of your life. It is springtime, the traditional season for kings to go out to war. But you do not go. You are no longer the young, hungry warrior fighting for survival. You are an established monarch. You send your loyal and brutally effective General Joab, a callback to the man who has been your instrument of violence for years, to lead the army in a siege against the Ammonite city of Rabbah. You remain behind in the comfort and quiet of your royal palace. This idleness will be your undoing. One warm evening after an afternoon nap, you are walking on the flat roof of your palace. The rooftop in your world is an important open-air living space, an obscure but vital detail of daily life, a place to catch the cool evening breeze. From your elevated vantage point, the highest point in the city, you can look down into the private courtyards of the houses below, and you see a woman of extraordinary beauty, bathing in the soft golden light of the setting sun. Her name, you learn, is Bathsheba, and she is the wife of one of your most loyal and dedicated soldiers, a man named Uriah the Hittite, who is, at this very moment, away with Joab at the siege of Rabbah, fighting and risking his life for you. You are the king, a callback to your absolute power. You are a man who is accustomed to taking what he wants, and you desire this woman, a callback to the pious man who danced before the ark. That man is now at war with a king's simple, earthly lust. You send your messengers. You summon her to the palace. She comes, and you lie with her. The biblical narrative places the full agency of the affair on you, the powerful king. To what extent Bathsheba was a willing participant or a powerless subject unable to refuse the summons of her monarch is a question that the text, written in a deeply patriarchal society, leaves to the shadows. What is certain is the consequence. The affair is a secret. But secrets have consequences. A short time later, you receive a message from Bathsheba. It is 3 simple, direct, and absolutely terrifying words. I am pregnant. Your moment of private, illicit indulgence has now become a public and political crisis of the highest order. The child, conceived while her husband has been away at the front for months, will be an undeniable living symbol of your adultery. It is a scandal that could threaten your throne, a profound sin that will bring the judgment of God upon you, and an act that violates the very laws you are sworn to uphold. You immediately move to cover up your crime. Your plan is simple and cynical. You will bring her husband Uriah back from the front lines under the pretense of wanting a personal report on the war. He will come home. He will naturally sleep with his wife, and when the child is born, everyone, including Uriah himself, will assume that the child is his. It is a neat and tidy solution that should erase your sin completely. But you have not accounted for one thing. Uriah is a man of profound and deeply, inconveniently stubborn honor. You summon him from the battlefield. He arrives and gives you his report. You then tell him, with a casual, feigned generosity, to go home to his house to wash his feet, a common euphemism for enjoying the comforts of home and his wife. You even send a royal portion of food to his house as a sign of your favor. But Uriah does not go home. He sleeps at the gate of the king's palace, on the ground, with the other soldiers and servants of the king. You are stunned. You summon him the next day and ask him why he did not go to his own house. His reply is a devastating and perhaps entirely unknowing rebuke to your own self-indulgent behavior. The ark and Israel and Judah dwell in booths, he says, his voice filled with a soldier's simple integrity. And my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are camping in the open field. Shall I then go to my house, to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As you live and as your soul lives, I will not do this thing. He is a man of such profound integrity that he cannot allow himself a moment of comfort while his comrades are enduring the hardships of war. Your first, clever plan to cover your sin has been completely thwarted by the simple, unwavering honor of the very man you are trying to deceive. You try again. You invite Uriah to eat and drink with you in the palace, and you deliberately get him drunk. Surely now you think in his drunken state he will stumble home to his wife. But even in his drunkenness, Uriah's integrity holds. He once again stumbles out and goes to sleep on the ground with the king's servants. Your desperation is now growing into a cold panic. Your simple, elegant cover-up has failed, twice. And you realize, with a chilling certainty, that the only way to hide your first sin is to commit a second, even darker and far more terrible one. Your clever, simple plan to hide your sin has been completely defeated by the stubborn, inconvenient honor of a good man. Uriah the Hittite, in his profound loyalty to you and to his comrades, refuses to go home to his wife. You are now in a state of cold, quiet panic. Your adultery is about to be exposed. Your legacy as the pious, righteous king is about to be shattered. The child that Bathsheba carries will be revealed as a bastard, and your own house will be plunged into a scandal from which it may never recover. You are out of clever options. So you decide on a new plan, a plan that is not clever but is simple, brutal, and final. If you cannot make Uriah a pawn in your deception, you will make him a casualty in your war. You are about to turn the entire Israelite army into your personal murder weapon. The next morning, you summon Uriah. You greet him with the false warmth of a king, a man sending a loyal soldier back to his duty. You write a letter to your commander, your ferocious and pragmatic nephew Joab, who is still commanding the siege of the city of Rabbah. It is a secret, royal command, sealed with your own seal, and you give this sealed death warrant to the one man in the world who must not read its contents, Uriah himself. He takes the letter, bows and leaves, a loyal soldier to the very end, dutifully carrying his own execution order back to the front lines. It is an act of breathtaking, cynical cruelty. The letter arrives at the siege camp. Your general Joab, a callback to the man who has always been your ruthless instrument, breaks the seal and reads your command. The letter is short and direct. Set Uriah in the forefront of the hardest fighting, and then draw back from him, that he may be struck down and die. The biblical narrative presents Joab's complicity as a matter of simple, unquestioning military obedience. Whether he was merely a soldier following orders, or a shrewd political operator who now had a terrible and useful secret to hold over his king's head, forever strengthening his own position at court, is a darker possibility the text does not explore. What is certain is that he obeys. He orchestrates the murder with a cold, military precision. He orders an assault on a particularly strong section of the city walls, a place where he knows the fighting will be fiercest. And he places Uriah the Hittite in the very front rank of the attack. Then, at the critical moment, as the assault is underway, Joab gives the order for the other soldiers to pull back, leaving Uriah and a handful of other men exposed and unsupported, trapped under the full fury of the enemy's fire from the walls. The result is a predictable slaughter. Uriah the Hittite, one of the bravest and most loyal of your mighty men, is cut down and killed. A few other soldiers die with him, collateral damage in your personal cover-up. Joab immediately sends a messenger back to you in Jerusalem. The messenger delivers the news with a carefully rehearsed script. He tells you of the failed assault, and then, as instructed by Joab, he adds, "Your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also." You receive the news. You perform a masterful act of public indifference. "Do not let this thing displease you," you tell the messenger, "for the sword devours now one and now another." It is a cold philosophical statement on the random chances of war. It is also a lie. This was not chance. This was a carefully planned and perfectly executed murder by proxy. Your secret, you believe, is now safe. You wait for Bathsheba to complete the traditional period of mourning for the husband you have just had killed. It is a short, respectable period of time. And then you send for her and you bring her into your palace, and you make her your wife. She is no longer your mistress. She is the queen. The child she carries will now be born as a legitimate prince. You believe you have gotten away with it. You have used your absolute power to bend reality to your will, to erase your sin with a convenient, state-sanctioned murder. You have forgotten, however, that there is one person in your kingdom who is not afraid of your power, a man who speaks for an even higher authority, the prophet Nathan, and he is about to come to the palace for a visit. You have gotten away with it. You have hidden your adultery behind a respectable marriage, and you have hidden your murder behind the fog of war. You are the king, and you are, you believe, above the law of men. But you have forgotten that you are not above the law of God. And God, in your world, has a voice, and that voice has a name, Nathan. The prophet Nathan, a man who has been your spiritual advisor and a key ally in your rise to power, a man who knows the secrets of your heart, comes to your court. He has not come for a polite social visit. This is a major historical fact of your life, the moral climax of your entire reign. He arrives at your palace with a story. In the ancient Near East, the prophet was an obscure but immensely powerful figure, an independent authority who spoke for God and had the sacred duty to rebuke the king for his sins and injustices. Nathan is here to do his job. He does not accuse you directly. He is far too wise for that. Instead, he presents you with a legal case, appealing to your famous sense of justice, a callback to the wisdom for which you are known. "There were two men in a certain city," he begins, his voice calm and steady, "one rich and the other poor. The rich man, he tells you, had exceedingly many flocks and herds. The poor man had nothing but one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished. It grew up with him and with his children. It ate of his own morsel, and drank from his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and was like a daughter to him." You listen, captivated by the simple, heartbreaking story. Then Nathan tells you that a traveler came to the rich man's house, and the rich man, unwilling to take from his own vast flocks to feed his guest, instead took the poor man's single, beloved lamb and prepared it for the traveler. As you hear this, a hot, righteous fury rises in you. You are the king, the fount of justice. This is a story of a gross, cruel abuse of power. Your sense of justice, the very thing for which God chose you, is enraged. You stand up and declare your royal judgment. "As the Lord lives," you say, your voice thundering with rage, "the man who has done this deserves to die." You have just, with your own words, pronounced judgment upon yourself. The story of Nathan's parable is a literary masterpiece of confrontation. Whether the encounter happened in this exact, dramatic fashion, or if it represents a more complex behind-the-scenes power struggle between the prophetic and royal factions at court, the message was the same. The king is not above the moral law. The prophet Nathan lets your verdict hang in the air for a moment. Then he takes a step forward, raises his hand, points his finger directly at you, the king on his throne, and utters 5 of the most powerful and terrifying words in the entire Bible. You are the man. In that single shocking moment, the walls of your palace, the loyalty of your guards, all of your royal power become utterly useless. The parable is no longer a story, it is a mirror. You are the rich man. You have many wives. Uriah the Hittite was the poor man, and Bathsheba was his single beloved lamb. And you have taken her and had him killed to do it. The truth, which you thought you had buried so deep, is now laid bare before you, before your court and before your God. Your reaction is not the rage of a tyrant. It is not denial, a call back to the deep, genuine, if deeply flawed faith that has guided your entire life. You collapse. You are utterly broken. You do not have the prophet arrested or executed for his breathtaking insolence. You do the one thing a true king in your tradition must do. You confess. I have sinned against the Lord, you whisper, your royal pride shattered into a million pieces. But the confession does not erase the consequences. Nathan delivers the divine judgment. It is not a simple punishment. It is a curse that will haunt your family for generations to come. Because you have done this in secret, your own house will be shamed in public. The sword, the prophet tells you, shall never depart from your house. The peace you have built for your kingdom is about to be shattered from within by your own children. And as a first immediate sign of God's displeasure, the prophet tells you that the child born to you and Bathsheba, the child whose very existence you murdered a man to legitimize, will die. You have been judged. And the long, slow, and agonizing payment for your sins is about to begin. You have been judged. The prophet Nathan leaves your palace, his words of doom echoing in the silent, guilty chambers of your heart, and the consequences of your actions, the terrible price for your brief, stolen moment of passion with Bathsheba, begin to unfold with a chilling and inexorable speed. This is the final chapter of your story, the great tragedy that will define the rest of your life. You have built a great kingdom, but you are about to lose your own family. First, the prophet's words come true with a terrible swiftness. The son you had with Bathsheba, the child you murdered a good man to legitimize, falls gravely ill. You are plunged into a state of desperate, frantic grief. You pray, you fast, you lie on the ground in sackcloth and ashes for 7 days, begging your God to spare the child, to show you mercy. But there is no mercy for this sin. On the 7th day, the child dies. It is the first payment on a debt of sorrow that will take you the rest of your life to pay. And then the second, more terrible part of the prophecy begins to unfold. The sword, Nathan had said, shall never depart from your house. And now that sword is drawn not by your enemies, but by your own children. Your house, which should be a symbol of the nation's unity and strength, descends into a hell of lust, incest, and fratricidal rage. Your eldest son and heir, Amnon, becomes obsessed with his beautiful half-sister Tamar. He feigns illness, lures her to his chambers, and rapes her, then casts her out in shame. You hear of this horrifying act, and you, the great king, the fount of justice, do nothing. You are angry, but you do not punish your firstborn son. Perhaps you are weak, or perhaps a callback to your own great sin. You feel you no longer have the moral authority to judge the lusts of your own children. But Tamar's full brother, your handsome, charismatic, and beloved third son Absalom, does not forgive. He nurses a cold, patient hatred for 2 full years. Then, at a sheep-shearing festival, he invites Amnon, gets him drunk on wine, and has his servants cut him down and kill him. Your family has now moved beyond simple dysfunction into the realm of Greek tragedy. Absalom flees into exile. You are left to grieve for the son who was murdered and the son who is a murderer. Years later, you allow Absalom to return, a father's love overriding a king's judgment. It is a terrible mistake. Absalom, the beautiful prince with the famously long hair, begins to steal the hearts of the people. He stands at the city gates, listening to their grievances, promising them the justice that you, the aging and distracted king, have neglected. He launches a full-scale rebellion. The coup is so swift and so popular that you, the great conqueror, the man who founded Jerusalem, are forced to flee your own capital as a weeping, barefoot fugitive, while your own child takes your throne, and in a final act of public humiliation, your royal concubines. The civil war is brutal but short. Your loyal veteran army, under the command of the ever-brutal Joab, finally defeats Absalom's forces. As the battle begins, you give your commanders one single desperate order: deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom. But Joab does not listen. He finds Absalom caught by his long hair in the branches of an oak tree, and he kills him. The news is brought to you, and in this moment you are not a victorious king. You are just a broken father. You retreat to a chamber over the city gate and you weep, your famous, heartbreaking cry echoing through history. "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom. Would that I had died instead of you, O Absalom, my son, my son." You are restored to your throne, but the joy of your reign is gone, extinguished by the ghosts of your own children. Your final days are spent as an old, cold, and broken man, wrapped in blankets, haunted by the memory of the son you loved and lost. Your house is still filled with intrigue as your remaining sons begin to circle the throne, a final, bitter power struggle that will only be resolved by the cunning of your wife, Bathsheba, a callback to the woman who started it all. You were the boy whom God chose, the shepherd who became a king, the poet whose songs are sung for eternity. But the curse of the prophet was true. The sword never departed from your house. And the great tragic story of your life is that you built a kingdom for your family, and in the end it was your own sin that destroyed it from within.